Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.
Last week, child sex abuse charges were filed against R.Kelly, and everybody should take a critical look at this case because it looks like we're getting ready to reinforce an already troubling precedent that was established by the Bill Cosby sexual assault case. Now, in the Bill Cosby sexual assault case, the legal standard of due process under the law was changed by your district attorney Kevin Steele and that Philadelphia judge to the standard of trust and believe. And now that we are under the standard of trust and believe, we no longer have a legal standard as related to getting due process under the law. And that's what your Kim Foster is trying to use to get these charges filed against your R. Kelly. Now, I'm no fan of R. Kelly, and I'm no fan of the behaviors that R. Kelly has participated in with minors. I personally see your R. Kelly as a sexual deviant. However, I understand that R. Kelly has the right to due process under the law, and your R. Kelly has a right to get a fair and speedy trial. And that's not what he's getting in this case, because when I look at what has been perpetrated on R. Kelly, I clearly see a malicious campaign to demonize R. Kelly. And the reason why white supremacists want to demonize R. Kelly is because they want to get the Me Too movement back on track. And the way they get the Me Too movement back on track is by getting a black brute out here to be the face of their movement and to be the symbol of what they are trying to fight against. So what they want to do with R. Kelly is have this perverted black sexual deviant be out here to be the face of their movement and to be the example of what they need to stop as related to sexual harassment and sexual assault. However, when you take a critical examination of what these feminists are trying to do and these leftists are trying to do with this Me Too movement, you can clearly see that they are trying to create a campaign to demonize black men and then use R. Kelly's conviction as a springboard and mount a platform to go after all black men, because that's the ultimate plan of this whole R. Kelly situation. They want to make R. Kelly the example that they couldn't make Bill Cosby, because most people looked at the Bill Cosby conviction and they saw the unethical behavior that your Kevin Steele participated in. They saw the kangaroo court that judge orchestrated, and they saw that this jury was clearly biased. However, many people are just not aware of the subtle politics transpiring around them in the R. Kelly case, and because they're not aware of the subtle politics transpiring around them with the R. Kelly case, they cannot see how these feminists in the Me Too movement and these white supremacists are trying to manipulate them into believing something that just isn't true. Now, I clearly see that there's been a campaign waged against your R. Kelly by the mainstream media, and that campaign started with this so-called documentary called Surviving R. Kelly. Now, this so-called documentary, as I see it, was nothing more than a piece of feminist propaganda, and this propaganda, which was clearly racist and one-sided, was no documentary as I see it. Basically, this Surviving R. Kelly was basically a propaganda piece designed by the Lifetime Network and the producers of this so-called Surviving R. Kelly. It was designed to demonize R. Kelly, and it was designed to present him as this black brute. And these racists wanted to present R. Kelly as this black brute so that everybody could see a textbook example of who we needed to deal with, who is presenting the whole case regarding sexual harassment and sexual assault. So what they did was they manipulated information by saying, oh, this R. Kelly, he's been a sexual deviant in the past, so we need to make this man and talk about how we need to survive this R. Kelly. However, when you take a critical examination of all of the facts in the case, you actually see that the R. Kelly, yes, he was a sexual deviant. However, he's not the so-called monster they were presenting, because oftentimes these black women were just equally as complicit in many of these affairs. And if you're going to charge R. Kelly for child sex abuse, then your Kim Foster also has to charge these black women with child abuse and child neglect, because oftentimes these black mothers went out here and pimped their daughters to your R. Kelly, knowing that all that their child was underage, but still sending them to this known sexual deviant and knowing that their children were underage. So clearly there is child abuse and child neglect made by many of the mothers in the so-called Surviving R. Kelly documentary. But oftentimes when it comes down to women in our gynocentric society, we oftentimes have people who want to omit those details because they don't fit the narrative of their story. And when it comes down to these beta male white supremacists, they want to omit those details of the story, but they want to focus all on R. Kelly's sexual deviancy. And again, that is not an objective assessment of the facts. An objective assessment of the facts would not only be talking about R. Kelly's alleged sexual interactions with these underage females, but they would also be holding these mothers accountable. Unfortunately, in this era of the Me Too movement, what we've had are women, what they want to do is take history and not see it from an objective perspective. Instead, what they want to do is revise history to make it appear that they're a victim. And the reason why they want to revise history to make themselves out to be victims primarily is because most of these women who say that they were abused by R. Kelly now are older. They're in their 30s and their 40s. Many of them, they were groupies or they were on the casting couch. And many of them used to trade on their looks. They used to sell sexual favors in exchange for attention of celebrities like R. Kelly, and they were looking for opportunities to get a come up at the expense of R. Kelly. Unfortunately, what happened in many cases is that men like your R. Kelly just wound up having their sexual encounters with these women, and many of those women, that they were pretty much content with just having that sexual encounter with R. Kelly, because that for them, when they were younger, was a symbol of their success, saying that they had this sexual encounter with this celebrity. However, as they have gotten older and they could no longer trade on their looks, and now that these women are in their late 30s, early 40s, and even their 50s, now they can no longer trade on their looks. A lot of them, they are in debt. A lot of them have mental health problems, and a lot of them have drug and alcohol problems, in addition to, again, those financial issues. Now these females, now that they are down and out and are, as I see it, washed up, what is happening is they want to come out here and revise their past indiscretions with the celebrity into victimhood and say that they were victimized by this man, when in actuality, when they were in their sexual prime, their late teens, early 20s, and having sexual encounters with this prominent celebrity, this was considered a milestone for them in their teens and 20s. But now that they are in their 40s and 50s, and now that they're looking back at their lives and seeing the behavior that they participated in and how ratchet it was, now they want to try to go out here and revise history to make themselves to be the victim. And that's how we get women who go from saying that, oh, I went out here and slept with R. Kelly and are all proud of it, being a groupie, now talking about how they are surviving R. Kelly, the big black brute. And again, I say to those women, you can't get away with that, because you cannot at one moment say you are proud of this event in your life that happened in your teens and early 20s, and now come back here in your 40s and 50s and then say that, oh, I'm a victim now. I'm sorry, that does not wash. And what you're doing is completely unethical, because you're trying to use the legal system as a way to get this criminal conviction against R. Kelly in the hopes of getting economic resources in a civil settlement that you hope will take care of you in your old age. And that's the ultimate plan of your Gloria Allred, and that's the ultimate plan of your Kim Foster. What they want to do is just like what they did with Kevin Steele, go out here, get this criminal conviction against R. Kelly, and then use the criminal conviction as a springboard to file a civil lawsuit against R. Kelly in the hopes of getting at his wealth. And unfortunately, what these women are now finding out is that there is no pot of gold at the end of the R. Kelly rainbow. And the reason why they're finding this out is because after your R. Kelly was arrested, this man didn't even have enough money to even pay his own bail. And this is where the females are starting to really look at themselves and realize that their attempt to try to destroy this rich man has blown up in their face. So when it comes down to R. Kelly, they thought there was going to be this big pot of gold where they were going to go out here and get these series of huge judgments against R. Kelly. Unfortunately, your R. Kelly was not a very good financial manager, and your R. Kelly didn't really take care of his money. Your R. Kelly did not own any of his publishing for his songs, nor does your R. Kelly own anything as related to wealth generating assets. Everything he owned was controlled by Sony, and your Sony has cut ties with your R. Kelly, and your R. Kelly is no longer the prominent entertainer he was 25, 30 years ago. Yes, he may be making royalties on his songs, but that's small change compared to what these women thought they were going to get. So these greedy gold diggers, they thought they were going to get this big pot of gold at the end of the R. Kelly rainbow. They thought they were going to lock up R. Kelly the leprechaun and get at his pot of gold, and all they're finding is a big bucket of coal at the end of the rainbow and nothing there. So what's happened to a lot of these females is they are winding up completely being burned as a result of this, and sadly, they are getting what they deserve, because what I see here with the R. Kelly case is another case of hypergamy, and again, the females can no longer monkey branch and get at the resources, so now they want to try to call themselves revising history again so they can get at the last little bits of R. Kelly's income. But now they're finding that there's no income. R. Kelly wound up in jail for several days, and what was the ultimate insult to injury is a female who worked at a daycare center wound up paying your R. Kelly's bail, and that was the ultimate insult to injury for everyone in this case, because it clearly shows how deeply damaged and how deeply dysfunctional most of these black females are as related to R. Kelly. They want to sit here and talk about how R. Kelly is a pervert and a sexual deviant out of one side of their mouth, but on the other side of their mouth, they're going out here and still cheering for this man, and they're bailing this man out. It just shows how deeply dysfunctional these black females are as related to R. Kelly, and how deeply dysfunctional they were in the past, because many of these black females, again, knew all about R. Kelly's sexual deviancy, and they actually encouraged and supported R. Kelly in his sexual deviancy, and many of these same women, again, pimped their daughters out to R. Kelly, and allowed him to abuse them sexually, but in most cases, they allowed that to happen all over the black community. Because I remember when I was in high school and junior high school, these same females were sitting there talking about R. Kelly being a sexual deviant. Many of these exact same girls would pass guys like me over in high school and junior high school to get with the 22, 23, 24, 25, and even 30-year-old dope dealers. And these girls were as young as 12 years old. And they were going out here having sex with these 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and even 30-year-old men, all so they could go out here and wear the shearling coats, so also they could go ride around in this man's Jeep and talk about how they're the dope dealer's girl, and how so they can go out here and have the bamboo earrings, the Air Jordan tennis shoes, and be the so-called fly girl on the block. So it was okay for them to go out here and have those sexual relations with a man when they were underage, when they were getting stuff out of the man. However, once they get old and they cannot no longer get any more stuff out of the man, then that's when they want to come out here and talk about revising history, talking about how much of a bad guy these guys are. And what's really scary about this situation is that your Kim Foster is looking like she's trying to change the interpretation of the law as related to the statute of limitations. And that's really a scary situation for all men in society, and especially black men, because what Kim Foster is trying to do in Chicago is she's trying to make the law where we don't have a clear standard for the statute of limitations. Now, in the Cosby case, we saw the complete eradication of due process under the law, which compromised our Fourth Amendment and our Sixth Amendment, I believe. And instead of us getting due process, we are now under this standard of trust and believe. And with the standard of trust and believe, what happens is all a female has to do is make an allegation, and your prosecutor will come out here and file charges against a man, even if there is no evidence. Because in the Cosby case, we had people who were coming out here with hearsay, and in legal standards, hearsay is not admissible under the federal standard of the law. And that's why I'm hoping that Cosby goes and gets another victory, because in the Supreme Court, he got a victory against a black female who was trying to go after him. And in this case, we have another case of hearsay. And again, I look at this case, and again, what your Kim Foster is doing to our law is going to further erode our standard of law, because what she's going to do is, with this new standard, what she wants to do is say, I can go out here and there's no statute of limitations, and I can go as far as the child's age. So instead of us saying that there's a clear standard of 6, 7, 8 years, and if this person is serious about getting justice against this individual, they're going to follow the standard of trying to get a speedy trial. We have this process where these females are just going to arbitrarily pick a time in their life and then say that, this happened to me 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And that's not a standard of law we want to have in society. When it comes down to criminal matters, I would think that someone who has been violated or abused, again, they are going to try to get a speedy process getting it done, because they want to get this individual off the streets. And the reason why they want to get that individual off the streets is because they don't want that individual to go out here and harm someone else in the way they were harmed. However, when I look at this case, at the standard your Kim Foster is getting ready to try to push through the courts, it's going to make the legal system just that more dysfunctional, just like Kevin Steele bringing in trust and believe. Because when you have it where, a woman can come here at any given time and just say, I was sexually assaulted, this happened to me over 20 years ago, it just doesn't give anybody a way to illegally defend themselves in an appropriate manner. Because when it comes down to rape kits, DNA, those things need to be processed immediately so that we can have hard evidence to substantiate against an individual. And when I look at these type of interpretation of the law, what's going to happen is we're going to have females making allegations, and that shouldn't be the standard. It should not be us under a standard of trust and believe. It's your word against his, and there's no evidence to support that. And that's this kind of standard that's especially scary for black men, because this was the standard that was used to go out for Ku Klux Klansmen to go out here and lynch black men and also get men prosecuted for crimes they did not commit. Now, this is something a lot of black people don't know about history, but also, in addition to the lynchings of black men, we had hundreds and thousands of black men who were arrested, tried, and convicted in kangaroo courts during Jim Crow in the South and discrimination in the North for crimes they did not commit. And this was all done because the prosecutors wanted to go out here and clear cases that either had a white perpetrator that they did not want to go after who was wealthy, or a case that they just had open for many years. They wanted to be able to clear the case because oftentimes these prosecutors, what they want to do is they want to run for higher offices. And your Kim Foster, what she wants to do is she wants to use R.Kelly as a springboard to elevate her own career. So when I look at your Kim Foster, again, like Kevin Steele, I see malice of forethought, and I see some malicious intentions in this prosecution of your R. Kelly. And those malicious intentions are something every man needs to be concerned about, whether he be black or white or any other race, because these malicious prosecutions of men like Bill Cosby and R. Kelly, they are setting a dangerous legal precedent. And a lot of us, we think, oh, it's just black men right now. But the case of Brett Kavanaugh shows us that this kind of standard is going to be very dangerous for all men, because now that we are under this disturbing standard of trust and believe, we are headed towards what I call gynocentric Jim Crow. And under gynocentric Jim Crow, again, we have men who are in a second-class position. And because women are trying to put men in a second-class position, what they want to do is have this standard of trust and believe to punish any man who disagrees with females. And they want to use the standard of, oh, I made these allegations and I can go out here and make an allegation, have a man arrested, have a man lose his career, have a man lose his reputation, and have a man lose everything that he worked for, all based on just an allegation. And that flies right in the face of our United States Constitution, which again says a man is innocent until proven guilty, and a man has a right to due process under the law. And under due process under the law, you have to present evidence in an expedient manner, and you have to present hard evidence that gives people that goes beyond a reasonable doubt. And when I look at these charges that are filed against your R. Kelly, I have nothing but reasonable doubts, because clearly there was a campaign to maliciously go after this man, and that campaign started with that propaganda calling itself a documentary, Surviving R. Kelly. And after we get this documentary, again, we have this campaign to destroy this man. And again, what these white supremacists want to do is use R. Kelly as the face of Me Too. They want to use him as a springboard to go after other black men, and they want to maliciously prosecute black men and put them in the prison system, because these white supremacists want to eliminate heterosexual black men. They want to destroy heterosexual black manhood, and they want to eradicate black masculinity because they fear black men having power. So they want to use black women, like that prosecutor in Philadelphia and Kim Foster, as the people to go after them. And that clearly, again, shows how some of these black women are the enforcers of white supremacy, just like your Tanara Burke, and how all of these women would rather get their success by destroying black men, and how they want to get a butter biscuit and would rather be the white man's mammy. So I see this whole case, and I see it as, again, part of a long-term campaign to destroy black men. And a lot of these black women who are going along with it are going to find out, just like with the case of R.Kelly, there is no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, because when it comes down to hypergamy, the people who have the resources are white men, and those white men, again, are playing the puppet strings of most of these black females, getting them emotional, getting them riled up, and then sending them on this witch hunt against R. Kelly and protecting their resources by trying to have them go after the black man's resources. However, any critical thinker will tell you the guys like R. Kelly got their money from corporate oligarchs that were white. So that's where the big problem is going to come for the Me Too movement, because the resources that these older women want and that they traded their looks and their bodies for, that's where the core of those resources are. So you keep trying to throw these black men at these women, but they want the real money. And again, you're not going to stop this gynocentric Godzilla from going after white resources, because they know that these black men make small change in comparison to white men. So they think that going after R. Kelly will get a lot of these little small black females, but at the end of the day, they're still going to go after the big dollars, because they know that white men are the ones who are orchestrating this movement against guys like Bill Cosby and R. Kelly, and that they have the most resources of all, and that's what those older women want, and they're going to take it by any means necessary, because there's no way to stop hypergamy, and that's the thing that fuels this gynocentric Godzilla. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to try some of my SJS Direct publications, like The Man Crisis, and books like Stop Simpin' and Stop Simpin' in the Workplace, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.